Order, call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Here.
Trustee Katsinas? Trustee Malani? Trustee Compass? Trustee Reardon?
Here.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Here.
Mayor Peacock?
Here.
Please rise for the pledge.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Approval of the November 14th, 2022 special meeting minutes.
Trustee Katsinas. Any comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas? Trustee Malani? Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Compass? Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Approval of the November 21st, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Rashevsky.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of November 21st, 2022.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass? Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Accounts payable for November 22nd, 2022 through December 5th, 2022 approval.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to approve the accounts payable from November 22nd, 2022 through December 5th, 2022 in the amount of $3,225,911.07.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Compass? Trustee Healy?
I have to abstain. I have a conflict of interest with the vendor on the listing.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani? Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, item A, payroll for November 23rd, 2022, approval. Item B, amend Title 7, Chapter 4, number of Class D liquor license ordinance. Item C, distribution of proceeds from the 2022 Orland Park Veterans Golf Classic. Item D, resolution making the fiscal year 2023 proposed annual budget available for public inspection and setting a public hearing date. Item E, approve the use of the Village of Orland Park's allocation of state and local fiscal recovery funds to replace lost public sector revenue using the standard allowance, with said funds to be used for public safety services. Trustee Compass.
I move to approve items A through E of the consent agenda.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass? Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Ownership of Oak Lawn's regional water system pipe, also known as Spur 2, for the Village of Orland Park.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve releasing the ownership of Spur 2, and the pipe will be owned by the Village of Oak Lawn as part of the regional water system, and authorize the Village of Oak Lawn to secure all required easements from ComEd, school districts, the Village of Orland Park, and other entities required by the for the project.
Second.
And just to give everyone an update, what this is for is that the regional water system, we have a spur 2 that connects into that spur, which without doing that, we don't have the redundancy that we need. But Oak Lawn is handling the financing for the whole project. They cannot handle that financing if we have ownership of that pipe. So they have to have ownership in order to do that. Does that pretty much summarize it?
That's correct.
So that's fine. Any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani? Trustee Compass? Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Utility Needs Assessment RFP 22-059 award.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Radiszewski.
I move to approve awarding the utility needs assessment to Strand Associates Incorporated of Joliet, Illinois for an amount not to exceed $157,900 and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
And the rationale for this project is that there are certain areas where we don't believe we have enough utilities to service redevelopment, or that the limited utilities might limit what we could develop there. And so this assessment will determine what we have there, what we could do, and what we need to add if we'd want to do what we want to do. Accurately
Also
summarized.
correct.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Rudy.
do we know how long this would last, like go out? I mean, does this give us a 10-year window, or is it based basically on projects and how much is development there?
You know, and this is not going to be like a full engineering. This is really just an assessment. So the assessment would be good, you know, in forever,
Yeah.
basically. An engineered element would have, you know, an expiration date. But this is really just big picture globally. What do we need to do to get developed in these areas?
It'll give us an accurate reading of what we have now and what we would have to do now, given the current regulations, if we wanted to develop in certain ways. If, obviously, if regulations change, that would change, but it wouldn't change the fact that we would know what we have now, and we'd just be able to extrapolate what the difference would be.
I guess, part of the question is, I mean, 157,000 just sounds like a lot of money, I guess, and to figure out what we have and what we're gonna need, I wanna make sure it's, you know, comprehensive enough to handle it for the next, I don't know, 10, 20 years, kind of.
Yeah, and, yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, we would know in perpetuity what we have.
Yeah.
And right now, we don't know everything that we have.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Campos.
So, good question. Definitely I prefer the sport approach. There's no question on that. But there's quite a big difference there between the first and second in terms of cost. So I'm just wondering if that maybe doesn't break the release scale as far as cost is concerned. Was there missing scope in that second proposal?
That's exactly it.
What would, you know, specifically what would change in that?
Unfortunately, Rashid is under the weather, so he's not here. I don't know, Sean, do you know the other Sean?
Sean Marquez, village engineer. Yeah, so there's three other entities, firms that proposed had very similar scopes that covered, so on-site and off-site. The lower firm kind of just did an on-site analysis. We weren't getting the off-site effects. So this is more an entire package, I guess you could say.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
George, I don't know if you know this answer, Sean. When we contract out to a developer, don't they pay for the utility improvements or so anything that's...
No, absolutely. We're not, all this is going to do is give us a roadmap. When it actually comes time to building, it's going to be on the developer's dime.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't need the utilities unless the development happens, and the development's going to happen, they're going to have to upfront the cost.
Part of their cost.
Correct.
Okay.
But also, if you think about this, some of these areas, like if you think about Southwest Highway and Route 6, they probably will get service from I-80 and Route 6, so if we have to, let's just say the Southwest Highway happens first, it'd be good to know what we need to do upstream to make sure that we're only doing it once.
You're talking about the reconstruction project at the road areas and stuff you're talking about?
Well, I'm talking about Southwest Highway and Route 6. Let's just say we have a development there. We do have somebody interested in that and developing, right? And they have to add water service and sewer service and all of that. Well, there's a lot of that will have to be added upstream. It would be good to know so that we size the upstream correctly for future use. Is that a correct answer? Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, I appreciate it. And then the other thing, yeah, there is obviously one that's much lower, but if you look at the other three proposals, they're pretty close, and then one is way unlike the rest of them. That usually is an indicator that the scope was not correct. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Trustee Malani? Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Compass? Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Internal bypass, also known as T-connection at the main pump station, Greeley and Hansen's Engineering Services Contract Amendment Number 3.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani.
Move to approve the engineering services proposal submitted by Greeley and Hansen for main pump station bypass, amendment number 3, for an amount not to exceed $38,774.
And this one I don't know why we're having another update and amendment, so if you could please
Absolutely.
enlighten us.
So the board may recall, and Rashid's kind of provided some information on this, this all stems from the event where the main pump station went down because of the power outage. And what we're trying to do here is avoid that in the future. And what this T connection would do is, in the case of an emergency, it would fill the village's tanks using pressure from the regional water system from Oak Lawn. Right now, there isn't a physical connection that can happen for that. So at a previous board meeting, the village board approved the contract to engineer this, and as we're going through this process, the regional water system wants us to add some other components to it. Remote control, for example. They want to, because the T connection would only be used in the cases of emergency, we can't just open it up and take all the water from the whole system. So there's timing and all this other stuff that has to happen. So this is really just additional engineering that has to occur. This T connection at the end of the day is only going to be, a couple $100,000, and we have some grant funding for that. The other option is another pump station, which is tens of millions of dollars. So we're avoiding some serious capital costs by getting this T connection incorporated.
Like, all the T connection stuff I understood. So this contract amendment is due to additional engineering requests from the regional water system?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Perfect. Any other questions or comments? Call roll.
Trustee Malani? Trustee Compass? Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
RFP 22-063 batting cage purchase and installation.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to approve awarding RFP number 22-063 to Tiles in Style, DBA Taza Construction, for the purchase and installation of 2 batting cages at both the John Humphrey and Centennial Park for an amount not to exceed $114,500 plus a contingency of $11,450, and to authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
The one question I have here is we only had one bidder on this?
Back in September, and we only had one come in.
How does this compare? Have we done this before?
No, this is the first time we've done this. And the scope initially was a much larger scope, and because the price came in over $300,000, we lessened the scope to just get the cage part, and then a lot of the rest we'll do in-house or next year with savings.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
I communicated with Ray a little bit about this. It's also going to be able to accommodate softball.
Absolutely.
Cages, well, it's not just strictly baseball, and then it'll be open when we have these big tournaments at these various parks. It'll be open for use for the out-of-town teams to use during and between games.
We'll make sure they know that we have this available now.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be a marketing type thing that they can use. Also, we're at least looking into having it available to the public when there's not tournaments going on for some sort of a fee they can use.
Right. With our organizations getting the first priority. So we'll talk about all of that with the Recreation Advisory Board and get their recommendation.
Just because I know, I could play baseball and softball, we have to go to Homer, we have to go down to New Orleans for batting cage type practice. I don't think we have anything in Orland that has batting cages, right?
Not unless it's a public pay-for use cage. I don't think there are.
I don't think
Even public use, I don't think there's any in Orland.
Welcome to Cook County taxes, right?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Katsinas.
Ray, I just have a concern with this vendor. Do they have the experience and expertise to do the job?
Yeah, I wondered about that a little bit myself, and so I read through their scope of work. I think they do based on the detail that they put in their quote.
I don't know, I have a concern looking at them on their websites. I mean, tile store, great, home construction is great, but doing batting cages, it's a little different than what they seem to be online anyhow.
We will make sure that they adhere to the contract in full term before they're paid.
And also on their proposal, there was no reference on the warranty that was in our RFP. Both for
I would
the
have to check on
8-year
that.
and the 3-year, there was no reference to that.
Okay. Check on that.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Compass.
So I think the only concern I have is that we reduced scope by 70% with a single bidder. Why would we not put this back up? Right?
Well, it just comes down to the timing of the year, so we have been able to save money through the year by other projects costing less. So we wanted to take advantage of that opportunity and build the cages now with available funds. I think part of it is just that the year is running out, to be honest.
It is the board's, if the board wishes, we can delay this and then try again in a few months, but it will delay the batting cages getting installed. That's,
Well, I guess one of my comments to this is, I mean, now we're in December, and so doing this and doing it right is getting pretty tough to do anyways. By the time we did all of this, we're going to have frost, ground freeze, all of that, so we're going to be delayed to the spring anyway. So I would think that going back out for an RFP, in short order, and then lining it up for the spring first thing would make me more comfortable. I don't know how the board feels.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Cassiano.
I completely agree with you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to understand what Ray was saying about the savings, though. If we lose those savings if we go, I understand the
We would.
concern, right, we need to get it done right, but
So that if we awarded it now, we would create the PO and get the contract done in 2022 and then roll the project to be done probably in the spring. Otherwise, the funds will be saved by the village and won't be used. So the projects we're planning for 2023.
We can still roll the funds.
well, no, absolutely.
Whether it's approved or not, we can still roll the
yeah, that's what
funds.
I'm just confirming, that we're not losing any kind of benefit. I mean, I'm not super familiar with the budget on what he has available, but there's nothing we're losing there if we don't use,
If we
usually
roll
we're
the
losing
funds,
like-
then no. we wouldn't.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
Personally, I'm a little bit concerned about we could delay, but are prices going up? I mean, how do you, just a general feeling that the material and all that is going to be. I have another question though, too. That's, if I may, that's, how long do these batting cages last? What's their life?
I don't know, I'd have to check on that, but the netting is a thick netting. We use them at Sportsplex, and obviously it's indoors, so it endures. I think the ones we have there have been there for over 20 years. The recommendation is that you take down the netting every year, so we could do that to create longevity with the netting. The fencing is, it's long-term fencing, the vinyl coated fencing.
Anecdotally, I've gone to the same batting cages I went to when I was a kid, and I'm 51, and they're still there, and they look exactly the same. So they last a long
They
time.
tend to last. It's a thick cord.
You think of galvanized steel fencing, it's going to last for a long time if it's installed properly. It's the netting that wears out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
Chairman,
Trustee Campos.
move to turn this to staff for resubmittal to the RFP process.
Second.
What we should do is move to table this.
Move to the table.
Second.
Any comments on tabling? Call roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashewski?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye. Thank you for going forth with these batting cages. I think they're important, but let's go out and let's make sure we got a qualified vendor and get more than one price so that we can make sure we're getting the right pricing and the right vendor.
Are there any non-scheduled citizens or visitors here to speak? Board comments?
Trustee Campos.
So as we're concluding all of our budget reviews, kudos to the staff. I'd like to thank, and I was here today, Chris Frankenfield, Assistant Director of Finance, as well as our director as well, but specifically for Chris. Within the months that Chris has been with us, he's made a noticeable impact on the department, referenced by most of our other departments within the village. This year, the village made some changes to accounts payable management, which resulted in some interdepartmental change management functions. The issues that have been brought to Chris, he handles them thoughtfully, seeking first to understand and then problem solving without assigning blame. I also personally attest that I've witnessed how he handles questions from a board's own eagle-eyed, tell it like it sees it, CPA, Trustee Healy very well. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and see if this recognition gets the bolted nod of approval from Trustee Healy. Also, for all of those parents out there, I want you to know that Santa's pitch stop will be available. So Santa, you can come in without registration, I believe, right? So come in and visit Santa, get your pictures of Santa on December 10th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the Sportsplex. And there is still time to deliver new unwrapped gifts for close to tops by December 12th. And I think we have about 5 or 6 locations throughout the village to give those gifts. Thank you.
Trustee Healy.
Mr. Mr. Mayor, I have one thing to say today. So that's only, that I would encourage everybody to shop locally. I think when we see people give huge monetary donations, those are just wonderfully generous, but most of us, I think could help out a lot by dining and shopping locally and help out your village at the same time. Thank you.
Trustee Malani.
First, I'd like to thank everybody that participated in the holiday festival and the tree lighting and the parade on Sunday, but most importantly, I want to thank everybody that contributed to making it a success. We seem to have like an all-hands-on-deck approach to it. I saw, many people out there from the village hard at work, and we couldn't have done it without them. Everybody seemed to have a great time. The weather held out for us. And also, we couldn't do it, we had without our sponsors, like, that were here tonight, that we were recognizing as well. So, just thank you to those sponsors as well. Thank you.
Trustee Reardon. I think Bill was looking at my notes here. Call me Kevin. Please shop locally the next couple of weeks before Christmas. Over $200,000 to be donated by these sponsors is fantastic, and I'd like tonight to recognize them. Really appreciate what they do for us. Like Trustee says, many of these programs would not be around. I mean, they're not super expensive, but if we don't have the money to do them, they're just not going to happen. Thanks to the Veterans Commission, the golf outing, that's a fantastic amount to give, not only this year, but over, 4.5, 5 years, over $160,000 is just amazing. And very encouraged about the batting cages. Let's not let that slip through, and let's get that done as soon as we can. So hopefully some other proposals come in and we can get that done for the spring. So I know that is something I see at the softball tournaments that I go to with my daughters. It'd be really nice to have that. So thanks.
Trustee Katsinas.
First of all, I want to thank all of our employees who work on holidays, specifically the turkey trot, and that we're here on Sunday. They're taking time away from their families to give a lot of people in the village a very good time, and a lot of planning goes into it. So I want to make a special thank you to everybody who works those events. Also, hopefully we will have a list of our sponsors on our website, so residents can take a look and see who the sponsors were and how much they contributed. Because like Trustee Reardon said, without them, we wouldn't have these programs. So you have choices to make when you spend your money. We would hope you would spend your money with those people that support our community. Thank you.
Trustee Radiszewski.
I too want to say thank you to all of our sponsors. Without you and your contributions, we wouldn't be able to have all the programs that we have. So we do appreciate the donation of food and the monetary gifts that you provide. So thank you for that. And also I wanted to say thank you to Ray and the staff and everybody involved for the tree lighting ceremony. That was just excellent. Just very, very, very well done. Just such a nice program. So thank you for all of your hard work. I really enjoyed it. I also wanted to just remind people about the Snow Angels and the program that we have. We haven't had snow yet, but we are in December and we know that it's coming. So go ahead and get signed up if you know that you're going to need help. You can go onto the website and you can either sign up to be somebody who is a helper or somebody who would be a recipient of help. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. And I apologize, I'm going to have some very detailed comments here in just a second, but first I'd like to thank all the vets and the veterans groups. $160,000 over 5 years is fantastic to raise for our veterans organization, so thank you to the whole community, all the businesses and everybody else. Sponsors, as I noted, $225,000. If you think about some of these events don't cost that much to do. $225,000 goes a long way to doing our events. I mean, really, most of our small events are covered by that money. So, thank you so much for your support. Also, thank you to Parks and Rec for really making an effort to get those sponsorships, because I know we didn't do this back in 2017. We didn't focus on this like we do, and it really has made a huge impact on our budget and our ability. Also, I'd like to thank Alex specifically tonight, because she's on extended call of duty at the last minute. So thank you very much for making sure you covered for the clerk who called in, said it was not feeling well and couldn't make it. So thank you for your devotion to the village and being here tonight. So one of the things I'm going to comment on tonight or what I am going to comment on tonight is the Safety Act. First, I'd like to thank all the people that have pushed, whether it's villages or the 100 prosecutors that pushed to help make changes to the Safety Act, because changes were made. They are positive changes. I'm not going to deny that the changes that were made were positive. This bill still is really bad, okay? But it's moving in the right, it's moved at least somewhat in the right direction, so that hopefully we won't see Armageddon on January 1st. And hopefully the other things, we can figure them out before they become really problematic. So in the lame duck session last week, there was a 300-plus page bill to make changes to the almost 800-page bill, the Orwellian Name Safety Act. Here is what others and I said in September. I said, it abolishes cash bail for almost every offense. This includes, but is not limited to, kidnapping, armed robbery, second-degree murder, drug-induced homicide, aggravated DUI, threatening a public official, and aggravated fleeing and eluding. The changes specifically added forcible felonies, which include armed robbery, second-degree murder, arson, kidnapping, threatening an individual, and sexual assault. They also specifically included aggravated DUI. So this was added to this bill. I said that offenders released on electronic monitoring have to be in violation for 48 hours before law enforcement can act. I said they could almost drive to Alaska in that time. The new bill removed that portion of the law. I said that officers will no longer be able to remove trespassers from businesses or residents. The new bill maintains the language instructing officers to issue a citation in lieu of custodial arrest for cases below Class A misdemeanors, which trespassing was reduced to a Class B misdemeanor. However, it also specifies that police maintain the discretion to make an arrest if the person is a threat to the community or they continue to break the law. It, however, does nothing to address the lack of immunity for officers for the discretion that they use. Other people, not myself, rightfully said that people would be released from county jails on January 1st. The changes made in the new law will apply to those charged with crimes after that date, according to the new law. Those who were held in lieu of bail before 2023 will be able to petition to have their cases moved to the new system. There were many other changes in the improved bill, but after over 750 original pages and over 300 pages in changes, it's still bad legislation, like I said, and it prioritizes criminals over law-abiding citizens and police officers. The governor lied when he signed the Safety Act. He lied when answering questions about the bill, and he spent tens of millions of dollars running defamatory and false television ads during his campaign. Additionally, those of us, like myself, who gave you the facts were called racists. One of Orland Park's representatives, Justin Slaughter, said opponents were racists, and the objections were racist dog whistles. I haven't heard an apology from any of them. After my comments were made, Snopes, the Associated Press, the USA Today's State Journal Registry, the Daily Herald, YouTube, and Facebook supposedly fact-checked my comments and said they were false. Then why the changes? Why was any of this changed if they were false? Because we told the truth, and the fact-checkers do not. Now, personally, I've been here for a while, so I'm used to this defamation and the fabrications from the press, and of course, it angers me. I don't think anyone who knows me would think otherwise. But what is much worse is the fact that these lies were perpetrated on Illinois voters. Not only by undisciplined, unprincipled, and dishonest candidates that have now been elected, but by a complicit, manipulative, and deceitful press who did much worse than ignore the facts. They intentionally misled the public to influence an election. This is not the first time this has happened. Anybody remember in 2004 when 60 Minutes and Dan Rather ran fake letters about then President Bush? It cost Dan Rather his career. And 60 Minutes apologized and is still on the air, as it has been for 50 years. But their credibility was diminished. Just last week, anyone who's paying attention to the news, Twitter has been exposed for censoring the truth to change the outcome of elections. Calvin Coolidge once said, "Wherever despotism abounds, the sources of public information are the first to be brought under its control." Just last April, President Biden's administration tried to use the Department of Homeland Security by establishing a committee of public information to combat disinformation. In Orwell's 1984, they called this the Ministry of Truth. This frightens me. It should frighten every one of you, everyone that's listening to this, everyone that's in this room. As Thomas Jefferson once said, our liberty depends on the freedom of the press, and that cannot be limited without being lost. Franklin D. Roosevelt said, freedom of the press is essential to the preservation of democracy, but there is a difference between freedom and license. Editorialists who tell downright lies in order to advance their own agendas do more discredit to the press than all of the censors in the world. Americans value the freedom of speech and the freedom of press, and in my opinion, it is essential to our republic. There is plenty of speech that I don't like, but I have put my own ass on the line to defend your right to say it. Responsibility has been abdicated by many members of the media. It is not enough to have freedom of the press and freedom of speech. In order to have better government, we the people need to start thinking and using our ability to reason much more effectively. Until then, we will never get the government we want, but we will always get the government we deserve. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
move to go into executive session. A, approval of minutes. B, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performances, or dismissal of specific village employees.
Second.
Call roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye. Go into executive session.